Welcome to another deep dive. We're going deep into the Bible today.
Sounds fascinating.
It is Deuteronomy 25, a whole chapter full of laws.
From ancient Israel. Really gets you thinking.
It does. About justice, fairness, even today. Surprising, huh?
You said it. So much wisdom packed in there.
Okay, so what jumps out at you? What should we focus on?
Well, justice and fairness are huge themes here.
Like with the punishments?
Exactly. Like that rule about the 40 lashes maximum.
Yeah, that one stuck out to me too. Seems harsh to us today.
Oh, absolutely. But back then, it was actually progressive.
Progressive?
Yeah. Meant to stop things from getting too brutal.
So it was about making sure punishment fit the crime.
Right. And about respecting the person being punished, too.
Interesting. So even back then, they were thinking about that.
They were. And it's something we still deal with now, you know?
How so?
Well, think about prison reform. Or the debate on rehabilitation.
Versus just punishing people harshly.
Exactly. It's all connected to this idea from Deuteronomy.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. This ancient law and our problems today.
Yeah, it is. And then there's that whole thing about caring for the vulnerable.
You mean like with the Levirate marriage?
That's the one. Might seem a bit strange to us now.
A bit strange is putting it mildly. Marrying your brother's widow.
Right. But think about the context. A widow without a husband.
Would have had a really hard time.
Exactly. So this practice, it was a way to protect her.
And her kids too.
Keep the family going. It was a safety net, really.
Like our social programs today.
Kind of, yeah. Social security, welfare, things like that.
It's the same idea at its core, isn't it? Taking care of each other?
I think so. And that idea goes beyond just family, too.
You mean like in business?
Yeah, there are rules about honesty, fair dealing.
Like that one about using honest weights and measures.
Exactly. It might seem basic, but it's about trust, you know?
Trust is huge in business. And in life, really.
Absolutely. And then there's that part about remembering the past.
You mean the Amalekites?
That's right. An enemy from their past. Seems a bit out of place, maybe.
It does. What's the message there for us?
I think it's about learning from history, not repeating mistakes.
Acknowledging the wrongs that were done.
And working to create a better future because of it.
Kind of like how we're talking about social justice today.
Exactly. It's all connected. It's about how we treat each other.
Amazing how this one chapter has so much to say.
It really does. And there's even more, like that law about the ox.
Not muzzling it while it's working?
Yeah. It's about animal welfare, sure, but it's deeper than that.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. The ox is working. It deserves to eat.
So it's about workers' rights.
Exactly. All workers, human or animal, deserve a fair deal.
So Deuteronomy 25 is talking about fair wages, good working conditions.
That's right. It's about respecting the dignity of work itself.
Wow. So much packed into one chapter.
Isn't it? It's just the beginning, though. We've got more to uncover.
We do. And in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to look at how these ancient laws can guide us in the modern world.
Sounds good to me.
We'll be right back after the break. Don't go away. So before we jump into the modern stuff, we were talking about the ox.
Right. That whole muzzling thing. It's fascinating.
It is. Seems simple, but there's that deeper layer.
Exactly. Like, on the surface, sure, treat animals kindly.
Which is important.
Oh, absolutely. But it goes beyond that. The ox, it's working.
It's producing something.
And it deserves to benefit from that, like any worker.
So it's a metaphor for all workers, human or animal.
I think so. It's about that right to enjoy what you create.
To share in the rewards.
Yeah, and that idea, it's echoed through history, hasn't it?
It has. Think about unions, workers' rights movement.
All fighting for fairness, for a piece of the pie.
It's like this ancient law is still guiding us today.
In a way, it is. It's about that ongoing struggle for justice.
And speaking of today, I think it's time we try to imagine.
A modern-day Deuteronomy.
Yeah. What would that even look like?
Well, we could start with the big issues, right?
Like what?
Like inequality, the gap between the rich and the poor.
That's a huge one. What would Deuteronomy say about that?
I think it would push for more fairness, more opportunities.
And more level playing field.
Exactly. Making sure everyone has a chance to succeed.
It's kind of like that honest weights and measures thing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's about making sure the system is fair.
That no one's getting cheated.
Right. And then, of course, there's the whole digital world.
A whole other can of worms.
It is. But Deuteronomy has something to say there, too, I think.
How so?
Well, think about privacy, online harassment, all that.
Big issues.
They are. A modern Deuteronomy would have to address them.
So guidelines for how we treat each other online.
Exactly. And for protecting our information, using tech ethically.
It's like we need a whole new set of commandments for the internet.
Maybe we do. And then There's the environment
Right. We were just talking about the ox.
and how it represents workers, but it could be more than that.
What do you mean?
Well, what about our responsibility to the planet itself?
To all living things.
Exactly. A modern Deuteronomy might talk about stewardship,
About protecting the earth?
fighting climate change, ensuring a healthy future.
It's like expanding that circle of compassion.
It is.
And-
From workers to the whole planet. It's all connected.
So a modern Deuteronomy wouldn't just be about people.
It would be about our relationship with the whole world.
Wow. That's a powerful idea.
It is. And it all comes back to those core principles,
Justice, fairness, compassion.
Those are the threads that run through it all, even today.
This has been really thought-provoking. It's amazing how
Ancient laws can still be so relevant.
they can. And it makes you think about how we're living today.
About our own responsibilities, to each other, to the world.
It's not just about rules, is it?
No. It's about how we choose to live, how we treat each other.
And how we build a better future. Together.
Exactly. Deuteronomy is an invitation, in a way,
An invitation to what?
to think deeper, to act with more compassion, to make a difference.
I like that. And speaking of making a difference, Deuteronomy also.
It gets into some tough stuff
It does. There's that section about.
about the husband and the wife and another man.
It's a bit uncomfortable to read, honestly.
It is. It reminds us that these texts, they're products of their time.
They reflect the beliefs of that time.
And those beliefs might not always align with ours today.
That's true. So how do we approach those parts?
I think with a critical eye and with humility.
Recognizing the context.
And also looking for those timeless truths that still hold up.
It's about separating the wheat from the chaff, so to speak.
I like that analogy. We have to use our own judgment
Our own understanding of what's right.
and apply those principles to our lives today in a way that makes sense.
So even with the challenging parts, there's still value.
Oh, absolutely. It's all part of that journey of understanding.
A journey that never really ends.
That's right. We keep learning, keep growing, keep questioning.
And that's what makes it so fascinating.
It is. And who knows what we'll discover along the way.
It's tricky, isn't it? Trying to figure out what to take from these ancient texts.
It is. I mean, we can't just ignore the parts that make us uncomfortable.
Exactly. We have to grapple with them somehow.
Yeah. Like with the law we were just talking about, it makes you realize
The times were different, and people thought differently.
they did. And sometimes their views just don't sit right with us today.
But even with that, it's amazing how much wisdom is still there.
Oh, I agree. The core message of Deuteronomy, it's still powerful.
It is. Those themes of justice, fairness, compassion.
They resonate even thousands of years later. It's pretty amazing.
It makes you think about our own lives, how we're living.
Right. Are we living up to those ideals? It's a challenge.
It is. But a good one, I think. It pushes us to be better.
I agree. Deuteronomy isn't just about ancient history.
It's about how we live today, how we treat each other.
How we build a more just world for everyone.
That's a great takeaway. It's been a fascinating deep dive.
It has. And I hope our listeners will keep thinking about these ideas.
I hope so too, even after the episode is over.
Because these conversations, they're important.
They are. And they never really end. There's always more to learn.
And more to do to make the world a better place.
Well said. Thanks for joining me today.
It's been my pleasure. And to all our listeners out there.
Keep searching, keep questioning, keep learning.
And keep striving for that better world. We can do it.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for listening, everyone.